swapping rides with your friend James Hinchcliffe earlier this season. Talk about that experience for us.
Yeah, first off, I'm excited to be here. I mean, it's definitely a last-minute trip. Yeah, I found out basically yesterday at 2 p.m. that this was going to happen, and then got on a flight last night. Got to the hotel at about 10 o'clock last night, sleep, and then here as soon as the gates opened. So it's been a bit of a ride, but no, like you said, James and I did a car swap back in February in Sebring, and it's a lot of fun. So I got a couple hours in IndyCar, and I know just how exciting the car is to drive. So I haven't been to Road America since 2007 when I raced here in Atlantic, so it's going to be a pretty steep learning curve, but it's going to be a fun day.
You mentioned that the car is exciting. What are some of the things that especially either translate or don't translate from your vehicle in the DTM series, which is obviously quite different than an Indy car, that you experienced when you were doing the ride swap?
Yeah, it was funny because when we did the swap, I hadn't driven a race car for actually quite a while with like the Christmas break and all that stuff and limited testing in DTM. So when I did the swap, I'm like, oh, it's more or less like it's a race car. It's the same thing. Like you go as fast as possible, you brake, you know. And I thought there was actually a lot of similarities. And then the week after the car swap, I was in Italy testing. And when I got back into the DTM car, I'm like, oh, man, they're really different. So the biggest thing is the weight of the DTM car is quite a bit higher. A little bit less downforce, but not that much. But I would say the power to weight ratio of the Indy car is a lot better. The high-speed corners are a lot quicker in IndyCar. There's more G. It's a bit more physical. A DTM car, the main physical fatigue is just heat from being in a closed cockpit car without a lot of airflow. So in an Indy car, you actually have to use your muscles a bit. You know, we have power steering, and there isn't power steering on the Indy cars. So, but apart from that, it's more or less the same things. I mean, from what I've gathered setting up the cars, it's a lot of the same, really, because the DTM car is a Formula car with a body on it, more or less.
The ride swap was really just kind of a fun thing between friends, right? Did you ever actually imagine it would lead to something as serious as participating in a Verizon IndyCar Series practice session?
Definitely not. You know, James and I, we've been teammates since, well, we met in like 2001 when we were both teammates together in karting back in Toronto, and we were always joking around like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if like we make it pro, and like, because he always wanted to go to IndyCar and I always wanted to go to Formula One, so we kind of already knew at a young age that we wanted to go different ways, and we got pretty close. Like I was reserve driver Formula One for a bit, tested a bit, and but the whole time, our whole childhood, we're always saying like, once we make it pro, we should do a car swap. So because he always wanted to try a Formula One car, and I would try an IndyCar type thing, and we were able to do it. I mean, sure, it wasn't a Formula One car, but the DTM car was it's a great car to drive, and he got the chance to drive the pinnacle of a touring car, which not many people get the chance to. So, but yeah, the fact that I'm here today, I definitely didn't expect that.
Questions for Robert? Yes, Wolfgang.
Mike?
No, I'll repeat your question.
Robert, Pascal Wehrlein used DTM maybe as a possibility to make the way to Formula One. This drive here in IndyCar, is it maybe just for yourself a plan to do the move into Formula One, or do permanently IndyCar maybe in the future, or you want to stay with DTM?
Yeah, I can answer it right away.
Yeah.
To be honest, Formula One's not on my radar whatsoever. I'm 28 years old. I have no ambition to start a Formula One career now. I'm very happy where I am with Mercedes and DTM, and honestly, this was just a spur-of-the-moment thing. James and I were very close, and also Schmidt Peterson Motorsport. We've stayed in some contact since the car swap, just because they're great people. We got along very well, and we kind of just chat as friends through texting and stuff. And Hinch actually asked me if I was in Canada, because I wasn't supposed to be home this weekend. I was supposed to be in Europe, but my plans changed last minute. So, and I was like, yeah, I'm actually in Toronto. Just thought I was going to have a relaxing weekend at home before I go back to Germany for my next DTM race next weekend. But no, I mean, at the moment, DTM's my priority. That's all I want to do. And you never know what the future holds, but I can confidently say that IndyCar or DTM, the Formula One, is not on the radar for me.
And for the transcript, the question was if Robert had any aspirations to go into IndyCar professionally or Formula One professionally from this experience. Other questions, Tony?
Robbie, you're going to be practicing today against a lot of guys you competed against in the ladder series, not just James, but Gutierrez and Rossi as well. What are kind of your memories of racing those guys and you're all competing in IndyCar in one day?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, Rossi and I, we go pretty far back because we always karted in the same championship, but never really in the same category. So I always knew his name coming up. And then we raced the first time against each other in, I believe it was GP3 in 2010. And then we also did the Formula Renault 3.5 where him and I both finished in the top 3 of the championship that year. So it's going to be cool. I actually haven't seen any any of my friends yet, apart from Hinch, because it's been a super busy day. But yeah, and then there's like Connor Daly, raced against him. I raced against Joseph Newgarden, Esteban Gutierrez. There's a lot of great drivers, and it's really cool to see that, yeah, a lot of good people have been able to make professional careers.
The question was if Robert had any memories racing with other drivers in the Verizon IndyCar series. Other questions? Wolfgang and then Matt.
I have a follow-up. You said DTM is your priority. You're quite happy with Mercedes. Was it difficult to convince Toto Wolff to do this race here?
Luckily, I didn't have to speak to him, so I had to call Ulrich Fritsch, who's the CEO of HWA, who's my first call in demand, and he's more than happy for me just to get more seat time, and he understood the situation, and just he believes that drivers driving different cars will make you better when you come back to your day job. So he was more than happy with it, but he did have to call Toto, and I was more nervous about the time frame of everything because this was all happening extremely last minute, and I know Toto is at the European Grand Prix this weekend, and I wasn't sure if he'd be traveling or not, and it was kind of, we needed like a quick answer on yes or no if I could do it or not. And luckily, surprisingly, 5 minutes later, he called me back and said, like, pack your helmet and have fun. So luckily it wasn't that hard to convince him.
But he will follow from Azerbaijan. What's he doing here?
I don't know, to be honest. Maybe. I mean, I feel like he's going to be pretty busy running a Formula One team, so I'm sure he's going to be checking the motorsport feeds on Twitter or online to kind of see how I get on, but you never know.
Matt?
I know this can be very much a short-term thing, so are you kind of keeping your hopes of running the race kind of tempered, or will you feel disappointed if this whole visa situation can sort itself out and you're not able to run the race?
It'll definitely be bittersweet if I can't run the race. I mean, I'm excited to do an IndyCar race. It's been, being a North American kid, it's something that I've always watched. My idol growing up was Greg Moore, and then he obviously passed away. But I've always watched kart, Champ Car, IndyCar. I've watched them all on TV my whole life. So it would be cool to kind of tick that box to say that I did one. But on the contrary, I mean, Mikhail and I were teammates in Europe for 3 years when we were on Red Bull together, so I also have a very good relationship with him. And I feel for the situation he's going through as an international driver, it's not easy sometimes with immigration and making your way through. So obviously, yeah, I'm going to be blunt, and yes, I will be disappointed if I don't do the race, but at the moment I'm just going day by day. Yesterday I was on my way to a relaxing weekend, and now I'm in Road America. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Thank you.
Robert, going off of that, what sort of for the day is your approach with the team? Just getting the car set up and everything. This is expected to be a short-term thing, so what's your mindset as an individual, and what's the team's mindset with a different driver in the car than they're used to?
Yeah, well, first things was getting me fitted in the car, because when we did the car swap back in February, we just used kind of a seat that was floating around in the shop. I think it was actually Pagenaud's seat from when he was at Schmidt. So luckily I fit in that one. So that one was put back into the car, and yeah, so I'm in the car. Am I 100% comfortable? Not really, but given the short time frame, it's pretty good. And I think what the team aims to get out of today is just simple data. I'm sure there's going to be test items. I'm hoping that I can contribute to setup and my general feeling with the car, and hopefully, if Mikhail shows up for tomorrow, he'll have a car that's better off than if it just didn't run today.